It's great to welcome back to the show today, man, who we talked to a couple of years ago about his previous book, WilletWaffle.com. He got a brand new one out called Willet Skillet, 53 Irresistible and Unexpected Recipes to Make in a Cast Iron Skillet. We're joined by Daniel Shumski today. Daniel, good to talk with you. How are you?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, yeah. I'm looking at the archives. I guess it was about, two years ago, maybe three, that the Willet Waffle book came out. We talked to you then, so congratulations on the success of that.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, Willet Waffle was a lot of fun to do, and I wanted to take that same sort of unexpected kitchen sensibility and apply it to the cast iron skillet. And so now here we are with Willet Skillet.
My mom has had a cast iron skillet. She tells me her mother, I think, gave it to her for a wedding present. My parents are married over 60 years, so it's at least 60 years old, and she still uses it today. So it's quite a tool.
Yeah, that's so great to hear, and I think you're not really alone there, because the cast iron skillet is so durable that you really do. You run into people who have had the skillets in their families for generations.
Many a meal has been cooked in that skillet in our house and continues to be, and I guess it's almost an old school item, but it's as versatile as anything they can come up with today. I know they have those copper pot pans and all that, but I guess there's nothing like the original cast iron, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So I think it's a very traditional cooking tool that really still has a place in the modern kitchen. You know, you don't need to run out and buy a lot of specialized cooking equipment. You can just make things in the skillet, and it turns out beautifully.
What makes it different? Is it just the iron itself that makes the food cook better, or what's the difference?
I think one of the best parts about the cast iron skillet is the heat retention. So you can use it to sear on the stovetop, and then you can pop it in the oven. You can really expose it to high heat under the broiler, and it handles all of those things beautifully. So that, to me, is the versatility of cast iron is what really makes the difference to me.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You can stick it in the oven or on the stove or even outside camping, right? So I guess it is a versatile.
Yeah. Exactly.
Over an open fire, right?
Grill, all these things. Yeah. That's absolutely.
Well, let's talk a little about the recipes in the book, and you got them all different types of food, from breakfast to brunch to dinners and snacks. I guess you must have had some fun putting these together, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It was it was a lot of work, but I don't know if I would call it backbreaking work, but it was a lot of fun. And so I came up with things for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for dessert. So you were talking about everything from like mac and cheese in the cast iron skillet to something like a dessert of a giant chocolate chip skillet cookie.
That looked good. I saw some of the desserts you had in there. One was I'm a big peanut butter fan. The peanut butter swirl brownies. I always like that whenever I see that in the store. But you can make that in a skillet. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, peanut butter and chocolate is one of my favorite combinations, and you don't need a special brownie pan or anything, and you don't need really anything else but your skillet and some couple ingredients to make them, and it ends up with a peanut butter swirl all throughout that chocolate, and it's beautiful.
Is cooking time less? I mean, I know you have a recipe in there for lasagna, which can take all day to make that, but I guess in a skillet it probably takes a lot less time, right?
Well, one of the things that's great about the skillet is if you can use that skillet to saute things in it on the stovetop, and then use that same skillet for the same recipe to make it in the oven, to finish it in the oven, then you really only use the one piece of kitchen equipment to make the recipe, and so you're not building up a pile of dirty pots and pans.
That's always good. That's the worst part of making any meal is cleaning up.
I don't think anybody loves that. Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's talk about some of the other recipes in there, some of the dinner ones. We mentioned lasagna is one of them, but talk about some of the more unusual one. This one was kind of interesting, the potato crust and ham quiche. You don't see quiche too much out in the restaurants, but that's kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, that's true. And what I love about that is you can start the potatoes and the shredded potatoes that get really nice and crispy from that high heat and that direct contact with the skillet. So you crisp them up in the skillet, and then you pour the eggs and the ham into the skillet, and it bakes into the potato crust, and so you end up with this beautifully the soft, pillowy eggs in the middle, and then this delicious potato crust on the outside.
Yeah, sounds great. I know one other thing about my mom. She always said when she cooked in the iron skillet, when you bought one, or I guess every once in a while, you had to put a little oil in it or do something to kind of prime it. Am I right about that, or you don't have to do that anymore?
No, you're right, I think. I talk about this in the book about how to sort of get your skillet started and how to take care of it.
Yeah.
And it's always good to use a little bit of cooking oil on it and rub a bit of cooking oil on it, especially when you're done using it. It keeps the rust away. And, one of the great things about the skillet is that cast iron gets better the more you use it. So this non-stick coating that you develop really gets better and better the more you use it.
Yeah, I know she told me that a few times. I never knew that, but then in your book you talk about it as well. How about meat? Obviously, most people cook hamburgers or steak in it. You can cook a steak as good on the skillet as you can on the open grill, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's a high heat there is your friend. So the fact that the skillet is able to go on the stovetop over such high heat, you need to get a great sear on a steak, say, if you're cooking it. And there's a recipe in my book for a seared ribeye steak with a sauce that comes together in the skillet. So you make the steak in the skillet, and then you use the drippings from that steak and some shallots or some onions, and you make the sauce for the steak right in the skillet too.
And like we talked about your previous book, making waffles, obviously you can do that in the skillet, right? You don't need a waffle iron. I guess that's what a waffle iron was, made out of the same material, wasn't it?
Well, what I tried to do is there's a waffle recipe in the Willet skillet, and what I tried to do is have a little fun with it. So I took a sort of a conventional recipe for French toast, let's say, and thought, I wonder if I could use waffles in place of the bread, and so that's what ended up in Willet skillet is a recipe for French toasted waffles.
Yeah, I saw that one. That was interesting, and you can also bake a cake in it, which I didn't think you could do. I thought you needed to have that as a special, in a cake pan and all that, but you can bake a cake in a skillet, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, you really don't need a ton of specialized kitchen equipment. You don't need to run out and buy a cake pan. You can just make your chocolate cake in the cast iron skillet. And so that's one of the recipes that's in the book, and it's delicious.
And again, for a guy like me, I cook okay, but you don't have to really be a gourmet cook to be able to cook in a skillet. And that's your recipes kind of point that out. They're very simple recipes.
Yeah, I tried to make them super accessible. So there's some recipes in here where if someone's looking for a cooking project, they might be a little bit more involved and take a little bit more time. But there are tons of recipes that are super accessible for people who, maybe aren't comfortable in the kitchen or don't cook all the time. I really tried to make it so that the recipes in the book would be open to everybody.
Name of the book, Willet Skillet, 53 Irresistible and Unexpected Recipes you can make in a cast iron skillet. And we've been talking with Daniel Shumski. And Daniel, give out your website once again. People get more information about the book.
Yeah, absolutely. They can head to their local bookstore to pick up Willet Skillet, or look for it online, or go to willetskillet.com.
Great. Daniel, pleasure talking to you. I imagine you have another book in the works, so when that is ready to go, I'm sure it'll have Willet in front of it somewhere in the title, so we'll talk to you then. But thanks for being with us today.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America, isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or DougMilesMedia.com.